This is Political Junkeez with Brian Howie and London Thomas.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Political Junkeez, the podcast for those hooked on politics. There's a few things going on as we record this, so we're doing something a little bit different today. We have sort of a greatest hits. We have lots of people who've been on this show before. We have lots of special guests who are going to be joining us, calling in over the next couple hours or so. We're going to do this post-election night style, post-apocalyptic style, depending on your perspective. So to start it off with me in the house, she's been on this show many, many times now. She is the voice of reason, Kalika Moquin. How are you?
Hi, Brian. Good.
And the gospel of Mike himself, Mike Mills. He's back. I don't know if he's going to be the voice of reason, but he's going to be the voice of perhaps some wisdom. He'll bring in his gospel. And then you remember him from the last show. He had a lot of good things to say. I don't know how he stands on what's going on right now. Joe Maz, how are you?
Good. Good to be here again.
And like I said, we've got people calling in. We got people joining in. Hopefully, if you're watching us on Facebook Live, you're going to chime in with some questions and thoughts. So as we record this in real time, I'm going to start off with this. It's a close election. I'll just say that. And I think an interesting thing about that is in such a divided country, and we are a very divided country, we managed to have a shitload of fucking close elections. Other than 2008, which is about a 5-point swing, 2000 obviously was came down to court battle and 500 votes in Florida. 2004 was a lot closer than I think people remember. I think one state could have flipped it for Kerry. 2008, McCain he lost by about 5 points, which was pretty. Romney was pretty close. Obviously, 2016, what it was, and this is what it is. That's interesting that we're so divided and have been for 20 years now, yet it's really sort of pretty even on each side. Mike.
Yeah, I agree, and I would say that historically in the United States, this actually isn't that crazy, right? I mean, you get the famous Dewey wins over Truman, which didn't end up being the case.
Nixon Kennedy
was ridiculously close. So there's been different periods of time where there's been some landslides. Obviously, you had Reagan with the landslide, but right now it's just difficult, and we've just never seen it. This is a different level of close. I mean, the Florida recount in 2000 was one thing. We're in a situation right now where Georgia is going to be very close. Pennsylvania is going to be very close.
And they're going to be contested either way. If either side could ask for a recount in Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania.
I believe and I don't know how it works like legally, but I do know that there is some stipulations around when you can call for a recount.
Yeah, it depends on the state.
State.
Wisconsin, I know if it's within 1%, it's not an automatic recount, but the loser or the person who's behind has the right to ask for it, and they have to give it if you pay for it. You pay for it. Other states, it's an automatic trigger. They all have their things, but now we're in the situation as we record this now. There's still 6 states that are at least going to be disputed. We've never seen something like that before.
That was 6 states? No.
With 6 states that are in play and a collect. So we're going to get into the politics of all this, and we're going to get into what surprised you the most about last night, Joe.
I guess I didn't see them going this far with the coup attempt.
We're going to go right there.
I did not see it going that hard. I really didn't see it. I knew it was coming. I've read all about it.
You thought they'd wait?
Transition Integrity Project. I've read all about it. I knew the coup was coming. The mail-in ballots, I knew it was coming. But fascinating to watch Fox, of all stations, declare Arizona that early in the game. That one really... Well, it didn't surprise me that much.
Well, the interesting thing is Fox has the most to gain by Trump losing. Fox being the sort of the opposition party will be great for the Fox brand. CNN has the most to gain, and MSNBC by Trump winning. Because
there's
that's
we're not implying there that Trump that Fox was declaring Arizona.
No,
because
I'm
they
not
want
saying
him
that.
to
I'm
lose.
just saying like people are like, oh,
Just checking.
Fox is going to be
Just
slower
checking.
But why?
to declare.
They're
I think
the
it's
only
irony.
one to do that, though, wasn't it?
They
Were
are the only one to do
That
that.
was a little weird.
Supposedly, Trump called Rupert Murdoch at 2:00 in the morning and chewed him out. And what I don't understand is, who cares if they called it? Like, it didn't affect any voting. It's just
None
perception
whatsoever.
matters so much to Trump. But you're right. A lot of these things were tipped off to us weeks ago. The mail-in ballots we were told was going to be a problem. Bernie Sanders, to his credit, went on Jimmy Fallon 2 nights ago, sometime this week, and laid out almost step by step how this was going to go down. He's basically like, the votes are going to come in early. They're going to be for Trump. Trump's going to declare victory, and then it's all going to go bad the next day. Which was crazy that he said that at the time. Step by step. I personally didn't think it would be close enough to matter. I didn't think, I was on the side that I thought Biden would, 330. I thought he would. I didn't think it would be that close.
So
You thought Biden was going to win by that amount?
Yeah, I thought Biden was going to win. I couldn't imagine that Trump could and to his credit. So let's start off and let me give Trump a piece of credit because there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure will come up anti-Trump down the road. He did expand his base. He did get way beyond the number. He is going to exceed a vote total that Obama ever got. And you can
Which tells you that it's a lie.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. So you can say, well, that's a lot of people going out, but that's still a lot of Trump voters. He increased his totals with every single category except for white men who you thought was really his base.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you send out 80 million ballots and nobody asked for.
I get it, but people don't have to send them back. So if somebody sends me a ballot that I don't want or I'm dead, I'm not sending it back. That's the strange thing about this is they're counting every ballot that was sent out as sometimes how it's like 100% return rate. That doesn't make any sense to me.
It's not who votes; it's who counts the votes.
So there is this kind of interesting thing that happens here where there are a couple things that we did know that were going to happen. When I was on here last time, I said the only thing I know for sure that's going to happen on election night is that Donald Trump is going to declare himself the victor no matter what. That's what we said here. Because that's who he is. Regardless of how many ballots get sent out or all this idea that because there's mail-in ballots that there just has to be a conspiracy against Trump, this just greater fits into what we've seen from the Republicans and Trump over and over again. The victim mentality. Everybody's picking on me. Everyone's going to cheat me. I'm getting picked on it. And we knew we were going to see that too, so I'm kind of expected it.
And what do you say about the poll watchers getting kicked out in Detroit and Pennsylvania?
What do I say about them? I have no idea that that's the case. I do know that basically what we've heard for the last 6 years from the right, especially the last 3 years, is Joe Biden eats babies. There's a conspiracy over here. I mean,
yes, but we're hearing.
What do you think about his laptop? Hunter's laptop.
What about it?
I swear to God,
that right, but that's
I didn't.
That's
we can go there. I didn't vote for Hunter
We'll
Biden.
go there. We'll get back to that. But
did you vote for Hunter Biden?
The one thing I got to say to that is. We can. Deborah Messing of all people, I saw posted on Twitter or something a clip of Al Gore, who is like, "This is how you respect the will of the people and concede the election." I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Does she not remember? He conceded. He retracted it. He took it all the way to court. He didn't concede shit. He didn't honor the will. And for years, he has spread the. Very Trump-like, the illusion that he got stolen. Hillary Clinton has never admitted that she actually lost. So this idea that Trump is some outlier here and he's the only one who's not gracious in defeat is nonsense.
He just everything he says is he just says it wrong. It's not politically correct. I mean, Biden even came up today and said, "We are going to win this." So he almost said the same thing. Trump did.
He
said, "I believe."
We have the votes.
He went last night. He said, "I believe that we are going to win."
Today he said, "We are going." The Huffington Post, which is also obviously left leaning, even posted in quotations, "We are going to win Joe Biden." And that's almost the same thing Trump said.
It's very important to. There's a difference between saying we're going to win something and saying I'm declaring victory. There's just a difference.
And then there's also a difference in saying. There's fraud going on. They're stealing it, and he
was
sowed those
embarrassing.
seeds from before in 2016. He was always playing that card because he wanted to have an excuse why he lost. He expected to lose.
Always the victim.
Always the victim.
The victim.
And he's constantly put that out there that if I lose, it was only because of this. Now, that gets complicated if you had one state that was sort of up and down or some things going on. We could sort of focus on that. The fact that we have 6 or 7 states still in play right now, it's almost, this game of whack-a-mole for his lawyers, for which one do you go after? I heard a theory today that they were like, well, we're going to go after Wisconsin knowing that we can't win that, and then they're going to owe us Pennsylvania. I mean, this has gone back even a couple weeks now that Trump stacked the court because they were going to try and steal the election this way. Like, there's been this whole narrative about this that I think we're missing a few things that are actually positive. The vote totals on both sides, whether they're we'll get into how many of those ballots were actually filled out or not, but the assume that Trump had a certain ceiling that he could not get beyond was amazing to me that he actually got beyond that, especially in the middle of everything going on right now. And also, with no campaign manager and 2 weeks out of a hospital bed, the fact that he is coming as close as he can, I don't know what that says.
So if I was going to, as obviously being one of the resident anti-Trump people here, I will say positively, this, regardless of, if Biden does end up winning, this was there's still a lot of positives for the GOP here. Trump definitely brought out far more of the vote than I did. As much as, the black community goes Biden, he did get more votes from the black community than I would have expected. He obviously, what he did in Miami-Dade, it was, I think, is basically shocking. I think that was crazy. So a lot of positives. They also picked up seats in the House. I think that they generally have seemed to have done good in the Senate. I think the GOP didn't have a bad night.
It was the GOP's best night in 20 years.
Yes.
I think
which is horrible.
I know, but I think that generally the party is willing to, okay, we got everything out of Trump, let's put him over here. But the fact that
they're embarrassed
they
of him.
picked up governorships, they picked up legislatures, they picked up House seats, they retained the Senate. You would have never thought any of those things. They couldn't be happier. They basically neutralized Biden, even if he does win. But the thing that Trump could have done is he could have shaped the narrative that the story of last night, I think, would have been like, I cannot believe how big a vote Trump got and how he did, and he would have been pretty roundly applauded.
I actually think he lost this for himself. If you go back to Frank Luntz, saying this is the worst campaign we've seen in years. To me, I think we're going to look back at the last few months, and he ran an absolutely horrible campaign.
Yeah.
And if he could have got out of his own way, a lot more people in the center could have given him this election. But he's him. And that's what you get.
Or if he took one trip to Omaha, Nebraska, apparently that would have flipped anything. You're not the only Biden person, I think, in the House. On the Political Junkeez Global Satellite Hotline, I think we have Claudia Jordan joining us. Claudia, can you hear us, see us? There she is. Can we hear her? No. You got to unmute, Claudia. All right, we'll keep going. Let us know when she's in. I think, though, that the narrative could have been, rather than the story of last night from 2 a.m. Eastern time on, the story was, can you believe what Trump said?
Yeah.
Where before that, I think it would have been like, can you believe what Trump did? And I think he could have held his head high, and he could have been like, I was not this... all the Russia stuff would have gone, and that I really had this many people vote for me would have been a positive win or lose that he could have done something with. And instead, he spilled, juice all over.
He could have been, if he could have just not been himself for 2 weeks, he had this easily, but then that wouldn't have been him.
Maybe
he doesn't know how to not.
Like, or something that like the president or the when running, they can't say anything until the election is called.
Right, that's he cannot not be. And his answer to that is, my instincts trump yours. I got this far because I didn't do all that stuff. And
he's a narcissist, so he just needs to go.
I agree. He's like, you're not going to tell me what to do. But essentially, he has no campaign team. He really just did rallies and did thing. And the fact that he is probably not winning, but coming that close and getting a vote total second in the history of this country is shocking to me, and you got to give him some credit for that.
So I absolutely do. One of the things that's been interesting for me is when people were coming to me this morning saying, well, why do you seem so down? It looks like Biden's going to win. to me, the fact that this many people voted for Donald Trump is a bad sign for America.
Yeah, I saw Van Jones on CNN last night, and Van Jones has a pretty solid take on things, and he was like, the fact that this was not just a flat-out repudiation.
You had guys
of
like
him.
George Will. And, you have all these massive Republicans coming out being like, you cannot vote for this guy or any of his enablers.
I think the Lincoln Project was a failure. I think going out, but all of the money thrown at, like, let's take down Mitch, let's take down Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham winning in a landslide is the biggest embarrassment. It's a bad day for America.
Right, it's a bad day for America, but I think that the people who have been the TDS crowd who've been waiting for 4 years for this moment.
There's a lot of them.
Did not feel.
Let's talk about TDS.
Well,
I'm ready. I'm ready when you are.
They didn't
There's a lot of them.
They didn't want to feel what they thought they would feel.
I think what we need to remember is TDS is something that is created by the right as, to get thrown around as an attack on the left. And
No,
if you
I
wanna,
used to have it. I used to have it.
Time out. If you want to know what TDS is, you need to look at the evangelical community in the country and ask yourself, who is deranged? The people that are really upset by someone who just continuously goes around picking fights, being generally terrible, and that causes people to hate him. Are those people deranged, or are the people deranged that are evangelical Christians and are wrapping themselves around a serial philanderer who lies
That's
every
such a
day?
small
He's clapping back
percentage
on
of
people. He's
That's
not
such a
starting the
small
fights. He's
percentage.
clapping
I
back.
get that, but there are people whose every waking moment is obsessed with Trump on both
1
sides.
million
He's the
And
president of the
there are-
United States, the leader of the free world.
We pay almost no attention to the president of the United States unless something bad happens most of the time.
Oh my God.
I'm on the side of I'm going to enjoy the calm.
Didn't Trump want to see Barack Obama's
like
birth
it.
certificate? I think
Nobody
people
But that would flare up once in a while. People were not posting, memes about Trump. Maybe it's social media helps that too. But you agree TDS is a real thing?
People were
It is a
not-
real thing. On the
They
right.
were not voting for Biden. They were voting against Trump.
Yes,
That's
and
what
they
their
should
vote
have
was
been.
for.
Yes.
They don't care. They couldn't even name you one thing Biden has done in 47 years.
Mm-hmm. I
and that
actually
is a
can.
perfect demonstration
And I
of
don't like-
TDS.
Good point, but how many people on Trump's side came out to vote against Biden or Harris? Because they're
the communists?
Yeah.
Every single Cuban in Miami-Dade voted against Biden because of bullshit they heard from
the worst. They don't want socialism.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
And I also think
Communism.
The Latin vote. People do not like to be told that they're stupid. They do not like to be told who to vote for, and they're not like to be told because I'm this or because I'm this, because I'm Latin or I'm black.
Yeah.
Cubans are like, I don't have anything to do with
Biden was guilty of
Mexicans
that.
or Puerto Ricans, and lumping them all in like the media did. The Latin vote.
I agree.
Cubans feel like they have more in Florida, have more in common with the white people than the Latin vote.
But,
Joe.
I mean, we have now Hunter Biden, a recording of him in his own voice, admitting there's a deal with the fucking spy chief of China. Okay? He's got a deal.
We have that.
Via his
We
dad.
do. We have that.
We do have it.
But
We have emails.
Because you said that.
But that didn't.
Tell me,
It didn't
no,
matter.
Let's just remember one
Okay,
thing
that
here.
is the
Like we don't have
communists, right?
we don't have emails. We have PDFs that were around for a year, but they can't give us the emails that would have the metadata. And no one's actually investigated them. And the Wall Street Journal doesn't want to touch it, and Fox doesn't want to touch it. But Rudy Giuliani and them,
And the
they got
FBI
you.
is having it. And the SDNY has an open investigation.
And this is the issue we have going
Do you think they'll touch
forward.
it now?
Do I think they'll touch it now?
Yeah. Do you think the media will pick it up once it's safely in the bag?
But it's not it's not about safety. It's always been safely. They already had it. Once it came out to all these people and you can investigate it, there was nothing there. You're dealing with a bunch of BS that's being handed.
Day after Biden inauguration, we won't have a story drop?
Oh, we're going to get so many stories up because we're going to see QAnon and these guys
from New York Times.
The FBI has already admitted the laptop is real. They've had it since December of 2019.
I've never said the last. I've never heard anyone.
We'll get back.
I would love to.
This is real
we can't do 2 hours on Hunter Biden. I want to stick with the election.
It's always
though.
real information from
And
Q.
what was surprising last night? So one thing that was really surprising that a lot of us we're filming this here in Vegas, and there's a lot of degenerate gamblers in the room.
Oh, that was
and
funny watching that.
we were texting each other back and forth. with betting odds. And I think that rather than have Nate Silver sit in there with his bad polls and trying to make sense, we should have had a gambling odds person saying right now it's 2-1 and real wagering. That gave us a better read on, I thought, what was going on in real time.
So I had two bets. I had two bets on this. I had a straight up money bet on Biden that was from a few months ago. Then I had a bet with a close friend of mine, it's a Boston firefighter, and it was a $500 dinner. Loser doesn't actually get to eat. They eat bread and water, and you wear a dress. So that is what's held over me. But here's the worst part about this: I didn't take the hedge on the bet when the odds went heavily for Biden, and I could have hedged. But the biggest mistake I made last night was once I realized that the Vegas money was moving towards Trump. I think Joe was posting it. Once they went way towards Trump, it was like, yeah, but they haven't counted the early voting, and that's going to swing it back. Then I wish I could have laid a ton of money on Biden.
Did we get Claudia back?
5-1.
It looks like we have Claudia.
Yeah.
Claudia, do we have you back?
Oh, she just left again.
Technology.
Bye.
All right.
Can y'all hear me now?
Oh, that
Yeah,
was
we can.
free
Claudia
money.
Jordan back in the house. You're.
That was annoying.
Can you hear us? There we are.
Yes, I can.
How are you? You are a Biden supporter?
I'm an anti-end of the world, obnoxious, race baiting, pro-Nazi, pro-Proud Boys.
Yes, good for you.
How
for
do
you.
you feel then about Trump making significant inroads with Black and Latin community? Are you surprised, or you're just like, that's just part of the deal?
It's very frustrating. I feel like there was a lot of gimmicks being used. Obviously, I heard you guys speaking about the Latino community, how it is divided. They're not a monolith. The Cubans, they want to be closer to being white, and they feel that this puts them one step closer to that. They were traumatized by communism, so they bought into it. And then, some of my brothers, the machismo, they love the personality, and they're believing some of the bullshit. Let me tell you something. This whole contract, this platinum plan, which is 2 pages long, which is the aluminum plan that's supposed to cater to Black people that they scrambled together the last month.
Yeah.
If Trump gets reelected, we'll never hear about it again. Promise you.
Huh. So when you were, was there let me go backwards with you on this. Was there a candidate that you supported before Biden to get the nomination? Who was your choice of the early crew on the Democrat side?
Honestly, I wish Biden would have ran for office last time. I think he was a little bit more on points. I mean, I'm not going to deny that there's been a little decline, but he was sharper then. So I'm a big Kamala Harris fan. I love her. I like Pete. There's a lot of good Democratic candidates. They really were. It was a really talented bunch, I thought.
Right, and I think that's a good thing. I think Biden's going to surround himself with a pretty good cabinet. How worried were you last night? Halfway through the night.
I was on my 4th drink. I went to bed pissed. I didn't give my boyfriend any sex. I just rolled over and was miserable. And I woke up this morning like, okay. I'm hearing mixed things. Like some people think that Nevada's in the bag, but I just saw that the early vote was counted first. Then the same day vote was counted second, which Trump was up 26 points. And now the late early vote gets counted now. So that could go either way.
But so you thought there's no way I could handle 4 more years of this, and at some point last night you had to come to grips with there's a chance this could happen, and you survived, or were you booking flight to Canada?
I've been looking at real estate in Aruba and Barbados. Listen, I know a lot of people like Trump, and I used to like him. I used to be a personal friend. I just think he should have really stuck to television. I thought he was awesome at reality television. I think he's a great marketer. I think he was fun in the celebrity lane. He can't stand his demographic. That he doesn't like his supporters. If you think he likes the people at his Trump rally,
seriously,
listen.
I know
they're not invited to his party.
Were you on Celebrity Apprentice?
Twice. There's one
Twice.
thing Donald Trump doesn't like more than Black folks, and that's poor white folks that can't do nothing for him. At least he likes the Black celebrities that have to He doesn't like them, and I feel like they're the ones that are gonna be hurt the most. You know what I mean? Like when you take out all the the camaraderie. I understand the rallies make you feel good about yourself, but what do you really? Are you feeling good because you someone else is beneath you? Because that's what they feel like to me, and I'm telling you right now. I used to like Trump. If he would have been more in the middle and not like the Tea Party fucked this all up, if you ask me. They got him thinking he got to like cater to them and go all the way to the right and act crazy, and he just kept on going. He didn't get off.
No, he's a big time Christian. That guy, Donald
how
Trump, big Christian.
How did he treat you in Celebrity Apprentice? Because you were a woman and beautiful, was he nicer to you, or he was just fine, Donald Trump?
He was nice to me because he wanted to fuck.
Right?
Let's call it listen.
Really?
When people
No.
Black girlfriend or black people. Let me tell you, there's more than a few slave masters that were having sex with black women. Like, you can still be racist and have sex with a black woman or want to. Like, I need people to stop with that nonsense.
No, he's not racist. He had Little Pump on stage with him the other day. He can't be racist.
What do you hope will happen in a Biden-Harris administration? What is your best case scenario? What do you want to see happen? Because it's going to be hard for them because of the Senate. What do you hope to get out of it?
I hope to get, you know what? I want to get back to the country not feeling so scary. You know, like I feel like it was a big mistake for them to say, hey, vote for Trump so you won't have more of what we're having right now under Biden. I've never seen the country like this before. You know what I mean? I wasn't around the 50s and 60s when my people were being, sprayed with hoses, but it's feeling like it's heading in that direction. It's awful. Like you have people that really are hating each other. Basically see you, and if you have the red hat on, one side's going to hate you. If you have a BLM flag, people are going to hate you. And it's like, we could just not be on the same page, but not hate each other. And it's just gotten really ugly. I just want to get back to it not being so scary. I want to get back to them, the world leaders not laughing at us at the UN. I want to get back to not having an egotistical maniac that just feels like he needs the news cycle to be about him every single day. Like, I remember when politics was a little bit boring and we could actually talk about TV shows that we liked and Netflix and I don't know, movies.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things too. We see everything through the prism of Trump. We cannot date each other without first finding out how you stand on him. Dinner parties are very stressful now. Even when we get back to the point where we can have those things, it is going to be nice. I think that is not a landmine that we have to walk around.
So I agree with you, Claudia, and I want to see all of those things. One of the things that I'm and obviously I wasn't a big rah-rah Joe Biden guy, and I had never voted for a Democrat until October 25th this year. One thing I am hoping happens is what we saw was Trump took over the Republican Party and it became this sycophant situation. If you just look at things that Lindsey Graham said about him, they would be the same things that me and Claudia would say about Donald Trump. And that's only 4 years ago. And now you blink and he thinks he's God. And I think we're going to go to a situation where there's going to be people in the Democratic Party that are going to demand change. And if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris put us in a situation where it's just going to be more of the same establishment Democrats, which unfortunately could be the case, that will be sad. But I think that the AOCs of the world are really going to push Joe and Kamala to get rid of the kind of old school Nancy Pelosi-led establishment Democrats. And I think we actually might see some positive change. But I agree, we had to stop this ridiculousness before he drove us off a cliff.
We have no systems of checks and balances anymore. And I'm going to make a comparison because they're not the same. I remember when Senator from Minnesota that used to be on Saturday Night Live.
Al Franken.
Yeah.
Okay. Remember the purity test that Democrats had? We didn't give him any pass just because he was a Democrat. We were like, oh, it's okay. We're just going to deal with it because we need to maintain the Senate. We didn't do that. We called our party members on their shit. And I think that's what's lacking with the Republican Party. They allowed themselves to almost be, they turned into a cult where they just, yes. People like Lindsey Graham who used to speak up against them, like you said, there's no one that's saying, hold up now, except sometimes Mitt Romney and except sometimes John Kasich. And that becomes dangerous with any leader where everyone just goes along with it like, oh, nothing to see here, when that's not the case. That's not healthy on either side.
But if you look at if you look at the election results from last night nationally, other than Trump, which is still pretty close, it was a rejection of the Democratic Party coast to coast.
Yep.
And that has to be alarming, because then it's like, well, did we not go far enough left? And if we do go that far left, are we going to lose this side? People thought about, well, Trump will ruin the Republican Party. The Republican Party sort of held serve as a party last night. I'm not sure the Democratic Party did.
So I would just take a little bit of issue with that. I think that some of the Senate seats that we were hoping we were going to have a chance at flipping, like an act of God, maybe Amy McGrath could have beat Mitch McConnell. We were still asking for the head of the Senate to lose in the state of Kentucky. That not happening, or Lindsey Graham winning, he's still running in Georgia.
But the amount of money that was sunk into these seats,
yes,
Maine should have gone, a different way.
Yeah, agreed.
Georgia's a problem, but the governors, all the Republican governors, the legislatures, the House seats, I think the Democrats went into last night thinking we were going to gain 6 Senate seats and 20 House seats, and that didn't happen. So what that tells
the
to me
Dems underperformed.
is
It
nationally.
turns out people don't like lockdowns. Turns out.
I think that is it. I think that's a huge part of it.
Surprise.
That I know.
To put it
right?
bluntly.
I think that's a big part of it. That they were like,
I think no one ever liked lockdowns.
I agree, but people.
And it's all Democrats doing it.
Right. So
because
I do
we
think
can't
that's
get
a part
anyone
of
to
it
wear a
is-
mask in
is
public.
People were. It's nice that COVID went away today. It was nice,
Isn't
but
that amazing how it just disappeared?
yeah, but it was. I think that was a part of it, though.
called a
that,
news cycle. It'll be
that-
back tomorrow.
Why do you think that was, Claudia? Because that even happened in California. A couple of House seats, I think, flipped. Like the Democrat Party didn't do very well, and you could even say, in comparison to expectations, Biden didn't do very well.
He got more votes than anyone in history.
I get that, but relatively, you could say he underperformed.
You can say that's one way of looking at it, but he got more votes than any presidential candidate has ever gotten in history, with over 71 million, by surpassing Barack Obama.
So did Trump, though. Trump surpassed Obama.
Fake.
We'll get to that when AJ comes in a second. AJ Benza waiting here. All right. We got AJ Benza warming up in the bullpen.
We gotta spice this up a little bit.
I think the electoral college needs to go. I think it's not the will of the people. It's really not. I feel like the electoral college, the beginning of it it brought it into effect because
Only California in 4 minutes.
But I get that. But it's
they
never.
thought that we were dumb enough, we weren't smart enough to make our own decisions.
But it's never going to go. It's never going to go because it would require 35 states more. It would require 40 states to basically say we're irrelevant. And the states would have to say that, regardless of the makeup of the
that's
how
because
Congress
it's been framed that way, but that's not what it is. If you're a voter and you're a Republican in the state of California, you're only irrelevant because of the electoral college. If you're a Democrat in the state of Wyoming, you're only irrelevant because of the electoral
but all
college.
the money would be sunk into 3 states. And if I'm New Hampshire, I'm going to be like, what? Nobody's going to come here for our little
and
song and
that's
dance
why
every
we
4
should
years?
go after money and politics first.
I agree, but if you're Wyoming, these people will never pay any attention to us if there's not the electoral college. So I get that if we could wave our wand and get rid of it.
Claudia, where are you right now?
It's just not happening.
If you
California?
You're in California? So you're in Texas, but here you are addressing us. See how easy that is in 2020? Joe Biden, if he was running for election next time, he could address people in Wyoming because it's 2020. He doesn't need to be on a stage like
was the thought at all? Where are you in Texas? Can I ask that?
I'm in Dallas.
You're in Dallas. Was the thought that Biden had a legitimate shot in Texas, or was that always a long shot?
I felt it was a long shot, but the state of Texas, people here were extremely excited, and they really thought there was a shot. But I drove back from Austin to Dallas a couple of weeks ago, and I could not believe in rural Texas I saw Biden-Harris signs on the sides of farms. So I was like, oh shit, maybe something. I mean, I knew, of course, it's a long shot, just like
it's in play.
It's in
Texas is now in play.
Well, Texas was thought to be in play because they thought that sort of this new population would automatically vote Democrat, and that didn't happen. Like the
Democrats did good in Texas.
The most
they just didn't win, but they did
Latin county in the entire country, Trump won last night, and I think that they thought that the young people in Austin and areas like that would turn out. I mean, as it turned out, it was like a 12-point. It was close early, but he won it by like 12 points. It was a little bit of a Beto O'Rourke thing that like, oh, he can beat Cruz. And then when it got right down to it, he got crushed. What was Texas total? It wasn't close.
I thought it was only like 3. I thought it was only like 3%.
That's it was early, and then it all because it was all the early votes. All right, Claudia, we're going to let you go. Stay safe. I don't know whether to congratulate you yet on Biden winning, but good luck either way.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a good one.
Thanks. All right. Still, as we said, we got AJ Benza joining us here in a minute, and he is itching. Oh, boy. He's got some things to say. So a couple more things on that. Like, I think as it turned out, Ohio was really in play for a while, and that turned into like a blowout for Trump. Like, we stopped paying attention once they sort of. Jono, can you look up what Trump won Texas by?
I'm interested on that one. I would say, so I never even considered Ohio, and it did all of a sudden come in what we thought to play and then ended up not being in play. That's fine. What we did just find out is now suddenly Georgia is now in play. Texas, if it ended up being a blowout, I'm going to be somewhat shocked by that. But the Democrats definitely took another step forward in Texas.
52-46.
52-46.
6 points. That's Texas. If they lose Texas, they'll never win another election.
Has Texas ever gone blue?
Not in a long time. Not in a long, long time.
Well, I mean, everybody from LA moved to Austin and ruined Austin.
Please keep LA out there.
All
keep
the
doing
LA people are ruining they're turning all these lovely red cities
But a lot of people
blue.
are also leaving because of politics in California.
They are.
So
Uber is allowed to live in California.
I would say that it's mostly
Oregon, a couple little ballot things around the country. So I think
mushrooms.
I think
I like
mushrooms
that.
are where?
Mushrooms are no longer illegal in Oregon, or is
I think everything is
illegal in Oregon. Heroin, meth, whatever.
Yeah.
You can't sell it, but you can have it in Oregon. So good luck with that one.
I think that's a good one. There's a lot of people who were speaking up in opposition of that, but I think they should have decriminalized drugs everywhere. So
we need
all
to
drugs.
Yeah.
Well,
for personal use. I think it's more of a mental health thing than it is
we should absolutely be. So I think that this is one step in the right direction, but I don't like that the step is happening on its own. Like when you can't just loose heroin out into a community, but I do fundamentally believe that taking these progressive steps towards decriminalization, putting it in the bucket of mental health, is absolutely the step in the right direction. And if you look at all the stats on like heroin addiction in Portugal and places like that, all those numbers are positive. So people freak out.
All right, as we transition into Mr. Benza coming in here. All right, give us what you think is going down here.
I think there is massive election fraud in process right now. I think that's why they're filing lawsuits in Wisconsin, Michigan. I think eventually it's going to come down to the Supreme Court. It's going to come down to Kavanaugh.
Hold on, back up. So the fraud is happening how? Fake ballots?
I think we have mail-in ballots are a problem. I think that right now there's ballots coming in from all different directions, and we saw a spike last night of 100,000 in Wisconsin out of nowhere. What's that all about? We saw it in Michigan. What's that all about?
These vote total dumps are very. No matter how you feel about it, they're peculiar. They do need to be explained.
All for Biden out of nowhere. Police escort, middle of the night in Wisconsin. Let's talk about it. That's a little bit weird.
There's some sketchy shit. There has always been sketchy shit.
Dead cats are getting ballots.
Some of these mass
dead cats.
This is
no joke.
This is what we always say. Just keep in mind that in 2016. There was no fraudulent stuff happening on the GOP side. Trump actually ends up winning by 80,000 in three. But all we hear about afterwards, there was all this fraud, and there's going to be this big investigation.
Why not then?
So he tried to go. Russia stole the election.
Where does it go?
So he tried to get a commission together. You remember
this?
Which
was actually shown
electoral commission together. Trump. He wanted to go over all the ballots, have both sides look at it.
Some of the states are like, "What are you doing?" Yeah, no, I get that, but he just disappears on it.
But why not? Because the states won't agree to it.
I know the states.
That's it. He just went away.
The states, which
is it that easy to push Donald Trump around?
Well, the states.
Oh, we're not going to go along with that. Donald is like, oh shucks.
The way they like to do.
You can't. Well, then he would be a dictator.
Well,
right?
All he needs to do is tell you guys something bad's happening, so that you guys will run around and do what you're doing now, and then
that seems like a pretty logical way to fix the election process. Is have an audit of the election process, have both teams both sides.
I get that.
Take a
The
look at it.
states like to do things the way they like to do things.
Because it's
a financial. There's a lot of things that we should have a reasonably mainstream voting system. We should figure out a way to do it online. If we could pay our taxes online, there should be ways to do these things.
There's only fraud in Democratic states. Is that what we're hearing right now?
Is there what?
Is there only so there's only fraud in Democratic states?
Because no, I think there's fraud.
Well, if you show me some examples of fraud on the GOP side, I'd be happy to entertain it.
Well, no, but if there's Democrats cheating in a Republican side, I'm not saying that they are. That's the one that you guys that are saying that you might lose.
Right,
so
if I had to wave a thing and I said, where did fraud take place in the country yesterday? I would say Lindsey Graham's win.
You think so? Do you have any evidence of it?
No,
I'm
no Lindsey
Graham. I'm not a fan.
I think the fact that turned to
the fact that someone
quickly,
cast a vote for Lindsey Graham.
That was called so quickly. That's one of the places. So I think it goes on a lot of places both ways. But because it's so close
you think there's widespread fraud in American elections?
Yes,
sure.
100%.
It's traditional. The way they
80 million mail ballots.
They bust a lot of people into black churches for years and say,
so
here's
I
your
didn't
ballot,
request mine,
no
and
choice.
I get mine, and there's fraud involved because I didn't request
Well,
it.
Project Veritas did a video showing somebody, I think it was in San Antonio, where she was going around door to door, and she was having people. She was filling out their ballots for them.
But you think
and
it's
then
only
they have her on video admitting that she's getting payments.
Right, but it's what you think it's both sides.
Well, we know it's messy when it was mailed out. I think
not
it's
both sides.
We need to
think
make
it's only
sure
one
counted.
side?
I think I'm sure it could be both sides. I'm
Could
not
be.
Listen, I'll
It's
entertain
definitely
anything.
that
I'm not a
side.
fan of Mitch McConnell. I'm not a fan of Lindsey Graham. I wasn't even a Donald Trump supporter until 2018, 2019. But I think most of the ballot fraud here is going on the Democrat side. I think it's
people are
evident.
always going to say that with the side that seems behind. But who knows if that made it close?
We know that this could have been. It didn't matter how we approached the election. This election, there wasn't the mail-in situation last time, and it's still Donald Trump crying, and it's still his emissaries out there pushing the idea that there was an election fraud happening
Well, then why
last
not
time.
have a commission to go back over it? Real simple. We'll fix this whole thing. We'll get it set for 2020.
He can put together. It's never going to be set. It's always going to be a victim. You guys are always going to be being cheated.
We won't have, but you won't have to be a victim.
I'm all about it.
If we get the commission together, do
all
an
about
audit,
it.
fix the process.
Before we say you guys, we have heard that the 2016 election was illegitimate for 4 years. So it's not just one side complains about losers. Like
we're talking about the validity of actual ballots. We
have heard that the Russians hacked things in his ballots. And
did you read the Senate Intelligence Committee's report on Russian interference?
I agree that, but
I mean, just go read that, and then that's a Republican
They
committee.
admitted to interference, but they didn't say any ballots were changed.
Yes, so interference without ballots.
About
the interference amounted to like $100,000 worth of ads.
Let's get the voice. Let's get
that didn't change one vote.
Hold on. I know they spent.
We work with the Russians to cheat, but it wasn't a big cheat.
Let's get the voice of reason in here for a second. How would you change our elections?
I think
How we vote.
I think that if we can log into our bank account with our face, or the way we have to file unemployment,
we can log into our bank account with our face.
I just think that it's 2020, and we're voting the same way we voted for 100 years. Like it's ridiculous.
I think it should be tied to however we had to go get that $1,200 or whatever through the IRS, and it was in there. It should be through your tax return. You file it, or you filed whatever you do, and then you can vote.
Got to have a paper trail.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
I cashed a check on my phone 2 days ago, so there's still technically
I
a
mean,
paper
it's
trail.
it's
so
messy right now. However you want to look at it, it's very,
just
very
keep in
messy.
mind, the Republicans don't want too many more people voting, and they're going to do everything they can and fight every single progressive thing that we can go forward on.
But they didn't want too many people voting, and 70 million people still voted for Trump.
Yes,
which is
interesting
stunning to me.
That's kind of.
Well, listen. If they want people, if they want more votes, they're not immediately attacking whether a drive-through voting is actually the right kind of structure, or they're not closing voting precincts in heavily black communities in places like Louisiana. But that's what they do, and you know why they do it? Because they not only don't want people to vote, they actually don't want specific types of people to vote.
Then why did Trump have the largest minority turnout since 1960?
Because they're humans and people can make mistakes.
Oh man.
Or they can make their own decisions.
Wow, you hearing this?
People can think for themselves.
Here we go.
Folks.
How's that racism? Me saying that humans are humans.
That's what I've heard.
Trying to say they're too stupid to make a decision.
I've heard that when an idiot from
That's
very common.
That's not what I said.
See, it's not fun being called racist. Anytime you disagree with somebody.
Anybody can call me racist if they want. It doesn't make it
no,
so.
you're not. But I'm just saying that's the thing that a lot of people do these days.
Symptoms here.
People
name call.
Here's a lot of things. We love a lot of the way we do our process. We're a very traditional country. We love the Iowa caucuses. We love that Dixville notch crap. You know, and they count the 6 votes. We like a lot of this stuff, and to put technology too much into it freaks grandma out, and it freaks a lot of people out. So it's going to be a while to change. The states who got it right last night were the states that were able to scan every ballot. I think it was Florida, just dropped it, and we knew in real time. These states that we're having problems with now are the ones who had a shitty system now. They are all bluish.
Isn't that a coincidence?
That they're, you know,
what do you mean?
It's ridiculous that
wait, we were having issues in Georgia. We were having issues in North Carolina. Everything's blue.
Well, you shouldn't. Well, it's the counties.
Unbelievable.
You shouldn't be able to have
Which counties are holding them up?
You
the ones that have the most people. Wait, it takes longer to count more votes?
You shouldn't allow your ballot to saunter in 2 weeks after the election. Sorry.
Nailed
Get
it.
here.
Well, so
but
that's why you make sure
the Republicans
the
actually
post
fought that one.
Well, the post
right?
office wants to try to make it as hard as possible for us to get votes. And if they stepped up and made sure that we could have had our votes in on time, we should have been able to have a much more, easy and quick election. But they didn't do that, and Trump didn't want them to do that. You know why? He doesn't want these votes.
It's not that hard.
Early voting was for 2 weeks.
It's not that hard to vote.
Yeah,
it's not.
So listen, I believe that if you had standing laws, and the laws are you should have to have a vote like in or postmarked by a specific date, I am perfectly fine with honoring all of those laws. I am not trying to fight that whatsoever.
Do you think it should be standardized nationally?
Why is it that all these late votes, every election cycle, they come in and they're always for Democrats? Why is that the case?
Is that the case? Because in Florida in 2000, that gave George Bush the election. That was actually not the case.
No, but that was still the same night. They didn't trickle in days later. Like you're going to see this. You're going to see this margin now. Like the popular vote is about 1.5 million, 2 million apart. In a week, it's going to be like 8. It always does go one way.
This is absolutely going to be over in less than a week.
Oh, it's going to be over, but the margin is slowly going to be. No. It's like what happened in the.
No, it's not.
It's like what happened in the midterms.
I take it back. He's right. It will not be open because
it's going to go all the way to January 20th.
The victim is going to be crying in front of everyone.
The same thing happened with the midterms, where it looked a certain way. It looked like a couple of seats were flipped and the blue wave didn't happen. And then a week later, it was like 9. Yeah. Like it does tend to have a late trickle, if that's the technical term. There's a late blue trickle.
When you live in the places with the largest population density that have to count the most votes. I know this is going to be shocking to everybody in the room,
like Miami,
but it takes longer. Well, so Florida is actually a really great example of somebody who does a great job at counting votes.
Are we going to volleyball?
Other places don't, and they're not all Democratic
Dallas
states.
counted pretty well.
They're not all Democratic states.
Let's bring in.
All right, we're in our volleyball rotation here, patiently waiting. He's got something to say. AJ Benza is joining us, backed by popular demand. All right, Joe. Joe's got some things. Joe will come back for the more controversial stuff.
Oh, we're gonna go in.
Come in. We've got AJ Benza, who I guarantee you has some things to say about what's going on and what's going to happen.
If you're a little chilly, you can wear this hat.
I'm all set.
I was gonna.
AJ Benza, everybody.
I was going to take the no off this hat and just have it Donald Trump more bullshit.
All right, first question. Where do you think we are right now in terms of odds of, do you think Trump has any shot?
Of course he has a shot. It's an outside shot, but he's got a shot. He's got a shot. Yeah, he's got a shot because there is fraud all over particular states in America. It's been that way in different elections. It's not just this election. So, of course, he's got a shot. And I think that, unfortunately, what you guys hadn't said before, maybe you did before I got here, but one of the worst things that happened last night, I was flipping back from Fox and CNN. Mm-hmm. CNN was actually being more fair for a long time. Yeah. They really were. Fox calling Arizona at 10:38 was the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life.
And not calling Florida.
Right.
They wouldn't call Florida forever.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it changes things, but
pushing this way a little bit.
It totally.
On the right. There you go.
Oh, technical.
Everybody's pushing me around because I have the Trump hat.
Yeah, no, I agree. They wouldn't even the state of Florida's like, we have no more votes to count. You can call it.
Yeah.
And yet they were quick to call. I don't know if you were here when I said that earlier. Fox has a lot to gain by Trump losing at this point. They've gotten everything, and being the opposition network, you know, I don't think they were influencing it, but they certainly were no friend to him last night.
They haven't been for a while. Listen, when Donna Brazile and Chris Wallace and John Roberts and some of those other assholes who were clearly not for Trump and not even trying to act objective or in the room, smirking and smiling, you know what they feel in that room. I didn't see that kind of attitude at CNN, and that's a big difference than last year.
It was weird though the way Wolf Blitzer would get so excited, and John King would have to explain to him like it's not how it works. Well, Wolf, you've been covering like 30 elections. It's like we've got a key alert. What does it mean, John King? He's like nothing. We're still counting votes. It's very strange.
I know. It was. Then I was looking at War Room Pandemic with Steve Bannon, who, by the way, he has to have enough money to change the brown teeth in his mouth, right? Steve Bannon's mouth and the hairdo. To get any advice from him is like talking to a wino on the corner. What's he doing, Steve Bannon?
I don't know.
Jesus.
Where you were very outspoken, and you were the first one I was going to give credit to you when things were looking very pro-Trump last night. You thought it would be a Trump landslide.
I did think that.
It was looking like that for a while, that a bunch of states would have flipped.
Yeah.
What were you feeling when you were watching it last night? You thought like it's too early, or you thought like
if I can bring it to from an athlete's point of view, the whole feeling of momentum. I said a lot of things on my show during the week or two before the election that I didn't know how Biden people couldn't understand the momentum that Trump people felt with all the weeks of rallies and the crazy parades and the spontaneous insanity and the boat parades.
Insanity and crazy is what we saw.
It's the insanity. Look, when you're a fan, you're a fan. I mean, fanatical is, fan is from fanatical. Doesn't mean you're nuts, but
clearly, the passion was there.
Clearly, the passion was all over America, and there was nothing. And don't tell me you saw fucking big arenas for Biden and Kamala Harris. They couldn't remember what fucking city they were in, what he's running for, where's his mask. Obama had to help him find his mask in his left trouser pocket. No, it's not bullshit. The guy that claims we must wear masks everywhere went up on stage without his mask. He's an asshole. He shouldn't be. He should not lead a nation. When you need help to walk down a flight of steps off a stage from the ex-president, you're not fit to lead. You think Trump needs help? Listen, we're way off topic. The point is this.
FDR did okay from his wheelchair, but carry on.
Wheels are wheels. I mean, wheels are nice. They can't really fuck up unless it's a flat.
Let's just keep in mind here that Donald Trump, we all know, has a fervent base, and he's done a great job. And he's done a great job at it. But when you guys point to 45,000 people at a rally of a bunch of people waving flags, like your average American doesn't look at this and be like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing."
But they did.
That's not true at all.
That did happen.
Well, no, but okay,
listen,
so
I'm a California guy. I'm a New Yorker. There has never been parades down the middle of Beverly Hills. Are you kidding me?
Oh, and so I'll give you.
You got to admit that was pretty astounding.
It wasn't like
around
the
Boston
Trump
area
cult and he has a small base.
Yeah.
You cannot deny he's got 70 million people. He got way beyond anybody's. So it wasn't just those people you thought about. There were a lot of other people who went for Trump.
If he's got 70 million, those crowds could be no.
He's got them.
Those crowds are actually bigger up on it, and he's trying to throw that party. Joe Biden's not trying to throw a party.
Oh, I see.
She's a professional party thrower.
Yeah,
you know it's different.
Okay, so let's do
if
this.
somebody tries to throw a party.
Let's do this.
If Biden hired you to throw a party, you could have thrown a better party. But they weren't trying to throw the Trump party. Trump was trying to throw a party.
I don't even know what that means.
I was in Ohio the other day, and Biden came into Cleveland for what? Like, he's going in to give a speech to say he visited the state. Nobody was there. He didn't even invite anybody there. Yeah. What was the point of all that?
It's so embarrassing.
I think part of it's political theater. It's about showing that you do get to these places. I think there's also, because of a lot of the anti-age and dementia stuff, I think he wants to show himself as being out and being active as well.
Failed.
And
that failed miserably.
It doesn't look like it failed completely.
No. You can say what you want about it. No, it failed in the sense that nobody looks at him and thinks he's completely fit of mind. Everybody knows that this guy, if he wins, is going to have a short run at it before possibly the worst candidate ever, polling at 2% among her other Democratic cohorts, might be president one day. The chick who changes her accent like Forrest Gump in Alabama and some barbecue king in North Carolina, and she's a California girl. She's more full of shit than Trump. Trump shows up in a business suit. He never put on a cowboy hat and a pair of jeans, not a fried Oreo at a North Carolina fair.
He just sits
Trump.
up and literally lies constantly.
And,
But
but you know
because
what?
he
You
does
could
it in the
say
same
lied.
accent,
You could
that's
say,
somehow
you
better.
could say
Like, come on.
lied, but in 4 years he accomplished a shit ton, and no one can take that away. No one.
Do you think he made a mistake?
You can't.
Do you think he made a mistake with the speech at 2:00 in the morning? Do you think that
Saying that
I
we won this election
and the fraud?
I wouldn't have done that. I think that was a poor move. I wouldn't have done it. We all knew he felt that way. There was no need to pour gas on that. I agree with that. Listen, I know Trump for years. I know he talks when he should listen, but that's not who he is. That's not who we elected 4 years ago. So if you put up with his tweets and all the other nonsense, this is nothing new for us. But all of us felt, and I'll let you go, all of us felt in our rooms watching this that, and for weeks beforehand, I think rightfully so, all of us felt, there's no fucking way America thinks Joe Biden. There's no way this could happen because of the crowds and the insanity around his run. That's what I mean. If Biden had the same kind of crowd, I'd say, whoa, this is going down to the wire. But something went down, and I'm not going to blame it all on fraud. But I do think that, look, there's been 1,160 some odd cases of fraud tried in the last year and a half. Obviously, it happens. So for us to say, oh, it couldn't have happened last night. Of course it could. We found ballots in the woods from military men. We found all sorts of shit. It goes on. And I'm sure the right side does it too.
But do you think it's worth it for Trump, and I know it's tough for him to say this, to fight and win a court and talk about stealing it or the illusion of that? For 4 years, he'll be completely illegitimate. It'll be disaster for the country versus if he's just like, you know what?
Why is it a disaster for the country?
In terms
it's going to
of
get worse than it is
the
now?
anger. Oh my God! If he won it through court,
if this goes to the Supreme Court,
oh my God.
and Comey Barrett is involved in the final decision,
it will be a nightmare.
It's going to be a disaster.
I think you'd rather have Comey Barrett on your side than our side. I said to you, I think I said she might break down when she was questioned. I was clearly wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. A woman like her, where she is in her life, I kind of feel like she might not go with Trump with that kind of case. I don't trust Roberts over there. I'm not that particularly sure about Kavanaugh when it comes to these kind of things. So I think he's in more trouble than he thinks at the Supreme Court level.
Going down that road.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
I get you want to win, and I get the stakes are high. Winning that way, after what we just went through, another 4 years versus he makes some deal where he's like, I'll concede. We get rid of the New York district attorney stuff. You let me go. I'll concede for the good of the country. I walk away. I'll say I got it stolen. I just didn't
Let me give you a
Is that a good strategy for him?
No. And no. He's first of all, a guy that uses the words winners and losers so many times would never concede unless he knows for a fact. Look, if this happened to the Democrats and there were these sudden shifts and states were given to them hours and hours and hundreds of thousands of votes behind, they would do the same thing.
I agree.
And they're perfectly allowed to do that. I wouldn't give them any crap. But here's a scarier scenario for everybody involved, particularly Biden people. Trump loses, fair and square. They do the recounts, he loses. And I'll take the hat off and fucking burn it just like anybody else would.
Sweet.
However, do you think your life's going to be better? I got news for you. Trump as a martyr is going to be so much more in your face and powerful. And I'll tell you something else. We've all allowed Obama to get up there and weigh in on important issues during Biden's run, before Biden's run, because he's the grandmaster, Barack, the perfect Obama. What do you think now that Trump would be an ex-president with 4 years under his belt, 4 years of extraordinary growth, naturally COVID knocked everybody else their ass. What do you think he's going to be like with his own radio station, podcast, television network?
He'll take Rush's spot.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away.
He may just end up on our team.
You're going to have two presidents.
You're absolutely right. He will never get out of the way.
He won't.
We're going to have three because we're still going to have Barack.
Barack, too.
Barack, bad precedent, because now it can't be like...
you can't do it, but Barack did it.
Yeah, Barack did it.
Barack Obama has very much stayed in the background
for a long time.
For 2 years.
Until recently. Recently, he's got very much involved, especially at the end here. And I actually didn't have a problem with it. And just, AJ, just so you know, I've never voted for a Democrat until I did this time.
I voted for Barack Obama the first time.
And I didn't.
Okay.
I've never voted for Barack Obama. And I think he's overrated by the left. I think he's underrated by the right. But I think he generally did a good job of standing back. He stayed out of the Democratic primary for the most part. Joe Biden actually didn't like that. And then when we got to the end here, and he looks at it like me, that Trump is an absolute disaster, and he said, I owe it to myself, especially while Trump's main points of his campaign are just a full-on frontal attack on Obama, to stand up for himself. I had no problem with what he did.
Because there are emails that completely show that he was complicit with John Brennan and Hillary Clinton about the Russia collusion. When you see, here's the thing: when guys like you, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name, I wouldn't say
Mike.
Mike.
Feel free.
No, well, Mike,
you can call me anything.
Mike, when people named Mike or others of your ilk say things like, "Oh, come on, that just didn't happen," when Leslie Stahl says to Donald Trump, "Come on, Hunter's laptop," that's not proven. You want to put those people's faces through a plate glass window. What else do you want to see? Do you want to join in on the orgy?
Well, we asked that earlier. Do you think day after Biden is inaugurated, if that happens, then they'll start?
Hunter's not going to be alive in the next 6 to 9 months. He's dead. He's gone.
You think?
He will never be alive. You can't have that guy in your operation. Here he is talking about beautiful Bo, who unfortunately died of cancer. I wouldn't have even brought that up because the whole crowd's going, yeah, but you got that other
about the
kid
other one?
with the whores and the Chinese and the money and the 10% for the big guy. But I don't see Hunter being alive for a long time. Whether he cuts out himself or he gets Clintonized, what's that word? Arkancided. Yeah. Something's going to happen to this kid.
Is Trump at the inauguration like his tradition with Biden? How's he handling this? If it is Biden, how does Trump handle the transition?
I don't know. I really wanted, obviously I voted for who I voted for, and I wanted my candidate to win, but
that's
what
bold.
I really wanted more than anything.
Where do we go with that?
I wanted a landslide because I didn't want to be having these conversations.
Yeah, everybody did.
So
Sure.
it's just
That's true.
like if it was a landslide for Biden, I could be like, you know what, maybe I've been out there these past couple of months, and maybe the country really wants something different than I want. And I could maybe say I'm wrong, but the fact that it's so just half and half really just shows that we truly are divided.
I love the outcome. I'm a big states' rights guy. I don't want the federal government to do anything. I love that this stalemate will happen. Biden won't be able to get any of this radical bullshit done. Can't do shit. Mitch, I love that Mitch is there, just like no.
It's going to be tough.
I like that. Nothing will get done, and I am
Joe
fine
Biden,
with that.
Radical.
Yeah. Any of the other stuff.
The AOC plus 3 and that stuff they're going to push through.
What do you call it? The Green New Deal? Any of that crap. No.
The socialist agenda.
The packing the court.
That won't get
DC state.
Puerto Rico's a state. It's gone. That's gone.
Nothing will happen.
Just because you said that, I just want to ask, because it is in the context of everything.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Coney Barrett being put in an election year 4 years after they literally did not, they violated the Constitution by not providing advice and consent, and someone died in February, but now we forced through someone like
my answer to that is Mitch McConnell has bigger balls than Barack Obama.
I agree.
Obama didn't push it. A lot of things Obama, like after Sandy Hook, and he's like, I'm going to do something about guns. He pushed on it for 2 weeks. It was too tough, and he backed off. He pushed on Garland for 2 weeks, and he backed off.
Yeah, he also backed off on ISIS, too. That was the JV. Pushed off on those guys, too.
He somehow got turned into Barack Obama.
That's my attitude is Barack should have pushed that harder. I think, is it hypocritical? Yeah. I think the Kavanaugh thing was fucked up.
I brought it up because it's unconstitutional. They were obligated to provide advice and consent. They didn't. They gave us a very straight reason why, and then they forced Coney Barrett down our throat. And
there's a reason that they call him Cocaine Mitch. He's fucking badass. You don't have to like McConnell. He is a master of the game.
He is definitely very good at being horrible.
You know what you guys, what the left, what Obama should have done, and he fucked up. You should have taken Ruth Bader Ginsburg aside and said, you've had a great run. We love you. But for the good of the party and for the good of the future, what are you, 116 years old? Why don't you go home and we'll get someone in here like you, a young woman, and it's going to be great. And you did your best all these years.
She made a bet on Hillary and she lost the bet.
That's right.
She's like, no, Hillary win. I'll let Hillary
I think that was
choose.
A big mistake
That's
for them.
What happened.
Big mistake for them.
You can.
That was an absolute mistake.
Yeah.
But whether Barack should have pushed harder or whether she should have stepped down, that is all secondary to the fact that these guys work for us. He has a constitutional job.
Mitch McConnell has no conscience whatsoever.
No, I didn't say conscience, in case there was any mistake.
Mitch McConnell is the most powerful man in our government and has been for a long time.
It's so
I've
bad.
always believed
It's
that
so bad.
he did what he had to do with Trump. Trump was a means to an end for him. I think when he has to cut Trump loose, he will. I think people really underestimate the power generally of the Senate Majority Leader, but how good he is at that.
He's been great. You
badass.
Can't argue with
Schumer
that. Yeah.
would have been, who probably was fitting himself for the suit, would have never been able to get the shit done that McConnell does for the good of his party.
This is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that if Biden does actually win, we are going to see some sort of change in the Democratic Party, because as somebody who's just voted Democrat for the first time and is really kind of hated the Democratic Party my entire life. I'm not sitting back saying, yeah, we need more Schumer and more Pelosi.
No,
we don't need
that.
We don't need that. So actually, I don't agree with AOC on much, but the fact that she is hated and not held up as a role model to Americans is shocking to me.
I don't know why she's a role model.
She's a rock star.
She's badass.
She's a badass.
Listen, I give her credit for pushing an agenda over and over again, but the agenda she pushes happens to be insane. She's got a great pair of tits. Without those tits, we wouldn't even look at her.
Come on, man.
No, I'm going to break it down to be that simple.